The next second, a malevolent ghost wielding a chainsaw charged towards the other ghosts. At this moment, Clown Girl covered her head and trembled uncontrollably. It was clear that she was in a state of dizziness. Catch the ringleader first. Luis made a decision in his heart in an instant. So he immediately issued instructions to Chainsaw Ghost. You take out the people at the back first. Chainsaw Ghost roared loudly and leaped high into the air. He swung the chainsaw directly and slashed towards Clown Girl's body. Just at the moment when the chainsaw fell, unexpectedly Nightmare Ghost took Clown Girl away ahead of time. This surprised Luis somewhat. It actually lifted the control effect of the deathly chant. It looks like the black light emanating from Nightmare Ghost. It should be some sort of rare dispel passive skill. Clown Girl quickly regained consciousness after escaping the control range. The reason she robbed the students who had just completed the assessment is that these people not only rarely activate skills, but also are not proficient in controlling contracted ghosts. I didn't expect her to stumble this time. Luis became serious at this time. Sure enough, Ghost Master is not so easy to deal with. Since he can't hit Clown Girl, then deal with you first. One less is one less. As Luis's consciousness flickered, Chainsaw Ghost raised his chainsaw and charged towards one of them. The next second, blood and flesh splattered, only to see Strongman's thigh being sawed off alive. Clown Girl's face changed drastically in an instant. However, she had no way to help. If she entered the deathly chant's range to save someone, it's very likely that she would also be in danger. Just as Luis tried to control the Chainsaw Ghost to continue attacking. However, the Chainsaw Ghost was drooling at the sight of the severed thigh on the ground. This startled Luis. Not good. He was starting to lose control. At this point, Chainsaw Ghost completely ignored control. He directly picked up the thigh and sat on the ground, gnawing on it. Luis wiped the sweat off his forehead. Indeed, controlling malevolent spirit in the first layer of Ghost Master is a bit challenging. At the same time, the skill time of Busted Ghost the deathly chant has ended. The strong man, who has recovered from dizziness, is looking in horror at his thigh bleeding profusely, howling in pain. The drunk ghost, contracted as a contracted ghost, senses something unusual. When he saw his master being seriously injured while the culprit was feasting nearby, the drunk ghost immediately flew into a rage. He grabbed a wine barrel and fiercely smashed it towards the Chainsaw Ghost. With a loud bang, the intense impact caused the Chainsaw Ghost to stagger, and the thigh in his mouth also flew several meters away. The Chainsaw Ghost, disturbed while eating, instantly flew into a rage. He directly used a one-handed basketball dribble move on the drunk ghost. The next second, the fat head burst open like a watermelon. Seeing this scene, Clown Girl in the distance exclaimed carelessness. She asked Bandage Ghost to pull Strongman over to her. Seeing this, Driver put away Road Ghost and helped Strongman onto the car unsteadily. Watching their two comrades leave safely, Clown Girl said fiercely to Luis, "I remember you. This is not over between us." Luis joked and said, "Next time we meet, remember to wear a pair of stockings. Don't waste those beautiful legs." The already flying away Clown Girl turned back and cursed, "Pervert!" Congratulations to the host for gaining 30 defense breaking points. It was this turn. Luis suddenly had a feeling that he had seen her somewhere before. At this point, he remembered the news he saw in the restaurant. Yes, she seems to be Gia. In theory, she is the daughter of the Security Bureau Director. The Ghost Orb is supposed to have whatever she wants. Why would she come to steal from the likes of us? Speaking of which, Luis opened the news on his phone. The more I look at Blood Eye, the more she looks like her. What do you think? Based on my analysis, the resemblance of their facial features and measurements is 90%. Luis immediately gave a like to the Blood Eye Ghost. You are indeed a rogue. You are indeed professional enough. It is said that the daughter of the Security Bureau Director robbed me. But the news clearly states that she is very powerful. Why couldn't she even defeat me? Later, Luis reabsorbed the Busted Ghost and Chainsaw Ghost back into his body. He then picked up the ghost orb that the drunk ghost had exploded out. He was originally being robbed. Unexpectedly, he ended up benefiting from the robbers. Just as Luis was planning to go back, he realized that he was in the middle of nowhere. When you pulled me over, the intention was to bring me back, right? At the same time, in an abandoned warehouse, Clown Girl summoned a ghost doctor who was treating Strongman's wounds. The ghost doctor tore off pieces of his own flesh and placed them on the wound, then sewed it up with wires as thick as cables. Meanwhile, Strongman lamented, "I'm sorry. It's all my fault for being so useless and dragging everyone down. How can we blame you? It's just bad luck that we stepped on a nail," the driver angrily said on the side. "If it weren't for your damn sister stealing your fated ghost, we wouldn't have lost to that kid tonight." Clown Girl listened quietly and instead washed off the face paint with a basin of water. Soon, a delicate young girl's face appeared. "Next time I meet him, I will definitely avenge you," she said. And Luis rode a shared bike for 2 hours before returning to the neighborhood. However, just as he was about to get a good night's sleep, the landlord's son upstairs started singing. What is he up to in the middle of the night? Usually, the landlord often indulges his son in disturbing the peace. At that time, Luis hadn't yet signed a contract when he went to argue with the landlord, but ended up being scolded mercilessly. "I won't indulge you today." Luis tapped the tattoo on his arm. Then he started instructing Busta Ghost, saying, "Do it this way first, and then like that." At this time, in the living room upstairs, the landlord's son was singing enthusiastically into the microphone. Although it was even more unbearable than a pig being slaughtered, it didn't stop the landlord and his wife from applauding and cheering. "You sing wonderfully. You're the best among the top 10 campus singers." When these words were spoken, the landlord's son immediately became excited. "Then I will sing another song." Just then, a gust of cold wind suddenly blew through the room. The landlord's wife looked puzzledly towards the window. "It suddenly feels a lot colder." She then tugged at her husband and asked, "It's not haunted, is it?" "Don't worry. The ghosts in the city area have all been eliminated by the security bureau. I think it's going to rain." At that moment, the child who had been singing all along was not happy. "What are you talking about? Did you even listen carefully to me singing?" The landlord quickly said upon hearing this, "We are listening. Son, please continue." But when the child opened his mouth to sing, the light in the room suddenly went out. Seeing this, the landlord pretended to remain calm and comforted his wife. "Don't be afraid. It should be due to unstable electrical flow. We're experiencing a power outage." But the landlord's wife shivered and responded, "If there's a power outage, why is the television still on?" I saw a woman in red clothes on the screen playing a string instrument while laughing like silver bells. The scene scared the landlord's family so much that the female ghost quickly turned off the TV. The landlord's son quickly picked up the remote control and pressed the power button. Sure enough, when the TV was turned off, the terrifying scene just now disappeared. However, the landlord had just wanted to comfort his wife and child. He then found these two people suddenly looking at him with horror. "Quick, look behind you." The landlord turned his head stiffly, only to see the terrifying female ghost from the TV just now, with her hair disheveled, floating above his head. "Who is singing and calling me at midnight?" Congratulations to host for gaining 60 defense breaking points. Listening to the screams from upstairs and the system prompts, Luis finally vented his anger. Later, he retracted the busted ghost. Accompanied by the sound of someone upstairs crazily hitting a child, Luis quickly drifted off to sleep. The next day, while heading out to pick up takeout, Luis ran into the landlord and his son. He saw them looking tired early in the morning. Luis asked knowingly, "How did your dad manage to slap your face so swollen?" The landlord sighed. "Don't even mention it. There was a haunting last night." Luis said mockingly, "How did it become haunted when everything was fine? It must be your child singing at night that attracted the music ghost." The landlord kicked his son hard after hearing this. It's all because of your singing. Seeing his son unable to stand up after being kicked, the landlord stopped and asked, Luis, do you know a lot about this? Can you help clean up this mess? Luis immediately looked very embarrassed. After all, I am also from Ghost Tamer High School. A small music ghost is not worth mentioning. But I do owe 8 months of rent. What do you think? The landlord waved his hand directly. Don't bother repaying, brother. After everything is settled, I will even give you 2 months of rent for free. Luis said with some losses. Since you said so. Then you take me to have a look. Later, he pretended in the landlord's house. Then he drank a few sips of plain water. Then he sprayed water at the landlord. After doing all this, Luis didn't forget to remind the landlord to have his son recite the Diamond Sutra 50 times every night. Only in this way can music ghosts be prevented from coming back. Luis quickly returned to the room. At this time, Nico sent a message. Luis, where are you? We're playing games. You promised to help me rank up. Later, Luis opened a mobile game. Although it is very similar to games from past lives, the heroes inside are all specters from the real world. Luis quickly logged into his account ID, Unstoppable, and then teamed up with Nico to start duo queuing. As soon as he entered the game, Luis decisively chose Blood-Eye Ghost Jungle. It just so happened that he could familiarize himself with its skills. However, before the game started, Luis typed, I've got a pentakill with my Blood-Eye Ghost. Just follow my lead. As the game begins, Luis is determined. I'll show you what a master is. At least, he was a challenger in his past life. Dealing with silver players is no big deal. So after reaching level 2, he immediately headed to the mid lane to set up a gank. Unfortunately, as soon as he showed up, the bandaged ghost on the opposing side instantly used flash to create some distance. His reaction was quite fast. He immediately used flash to escape for his life. As soon as he finished speaking, Bandage Ghost released the skill Bandage Puncture. Unfortunately, his prediction was predicted by Luis. At the moment when the opponent succeeded, Luis immediately activated Blood-Eye Ghost's second skill, Backlash. Bandage suddenly changed direction. It directly pierced through his own chest. With the killing prompt, Luis successfully takes first blood. They are now in a warehouse somewhere. The girl on the hammock is so angry that her eyes have turned red. Is this Blood-Eye Ghost a dog? It's only level 2, and it's already coming after me. Congratulations to host for obtaining 10 defense breaking points. Luis was slightly stunned. Where did these points come from? Could it be that the player opposite, Bandage Ghost, had a breakdown in their mindset? In order to implement the persimmon concept of picking soft ones. Luis grinned broadly. Baby Bandage, here I come again. And each time he grabs the mid lane, Luis can hear the sound of his points increasing in his mind. The opposite Bandage Ghost quickly went 0 to 6. At the same time, the girl's cheeks were almost bitten off in anger. Is this Blood-Eye Ghost crazy? When will it end? Looking at the screen that turned gray again, the girl couldn't help but cry. Soon, Luis easily secured the victory. At the same time, he also gained more than 100 defense breaking points, showing how much the mentality of the opponent Bandage Ghost must have collapsed. At this moment, Luis received a friend request from Clown with no emotion. Isn't this the Bandage Ghost from the last match? Just by looking at him, I can tell he wants to add me as a friend just to curse at me. I won't give you the chance. So Luis casually clicked, Reject. Congratulations to host for earning 10 defense breaking points. He really broke the defense again. After Luis happily put away his phone, Luis contemplated the second skill of the Blood-Eye Ghost. He can not only dispel control effects, but also counterattack. Isn't this the core skill? Then Luis took out all his belongings. Let's use all the ghost orbs to level up the Blood-Eye Ghost. Accompanied by Luis, activating Devour on several ghost orbs immediately turned them into ghost energy, drifting into the Blood-Eye. Blood-Eye Ghost leveled up. Superior Vengeful Ghost level. Upgrade to Blood-Eye Ghost. inferior malevolent spirit level. After the reminder, Luis hurried to the mirror. He found that there used to be one circle on the pupil of the blood eye, but now, with the increase in level, it has turned into 2 circles. This made Luis couldn't help but imagine things in his mind. If he were to reach the highest level, will it turn into the appearance of the Renegade? Later, Luis is ready to exchange skills. Deduct 500 defense breaking points from the host. Host exchanges for the Blood Eye Ghost's second skill. Backlash. Activating the skill can remove the enemy's control effects and return half of the effects. Luis was a little surprised. It seems that the cooldown time is a bit long. There was a hurried knock on the door. The visitor claimed to be President Simon of White Sheep Academy. He came specifically to invite Luis to join their academy. Although Luis has never heard of this school, but Luis feels that being able to have the president personally come to recruit is somewhat unusual. Later, Luis invited Simon into the room. As soon as he entered, Simon asked Luis about his family background. Upon hearing Luis say it was average, Simon immediately pulled out the admission brochure. That's great. Our White Sheep Academy can waive your tuition and accommodation fees. It just so happens that we can save your family a large sum of money. Luis took the brochure somewhat baffled. Is it so vigorous? Waiving tuition right from the start. An academy covers an area of 16,000 hectares. Not only is it the largest school in the province, even the teachers are all 6th layer Ghost Masters or above. Luis nodded in satisfaction. You should know that the tuition fees at Ghost Tamer University are not low. Coupled with accommodation and meals, it all adds up. It is indeed a very heavy burden for Luis' family. At this time, Simon took out another enrollment application form. How did your consideration go? You are personally recruited by me. Once enrolled, you will directly enter the elite class. Simon handed a pen to Luis. Let's sign the enrollment application right now. Just as he was about to successfully deceive, Luis suddenly asked, What is the teaching level of White Sheep Academy? Upon hearing this, Simon immediately changed the subject. We are all fighting to protect the people. You wouldn't care about some teaching level reputation, right? Luis was suddenly a little confused upon hearing this. You guys wouldn't be a diploma mill, right? To Luis's surprise, Simon suddenly got excited. What a joke. We are White Sheep Academy, the largest school in River Province. Graduates from our school can scare the daylights out of you. However, Luis responded indifferently. Well, go ahead then. I suddenly feel like dying. To his surprise, Simon immediately became evasive. He couldn't say it out loud. It's because there wasn't any reason in the first place. At this moment, a curvaceous beauty walked in. The school covers an area of 16,000 hectares, of which 15,000 hectares are wasteland, right? With such words, Simon felt a little embarrassed. But the teachers in our school, on average, are all 6th layer Ghost Masters and above. That's because there is only one teacher in your school. Later, the beauty extended her hand to Luis. Let me introduce myself. I am a teacher at Frost Phoenix Academy. I am Mabel. Seeing this, Luis quickly shook her hand. At the same time, he noticed the 4 contracted ghost patterns on Mabel's arm. Then Mabel took out a golden embossed application form. Frost Phoenix Academy in River Province is number 1, 10th in the country. We sincerely invite student Luis to enroll. Simon took the enrollment application from Luis at White Sheep Academy. He had originally planned to take the initiative to withdraw to save face. At this moment, Mabel's phone suddenly rang. However, as soon as she answered the call, the voice on the other end shouted, Cancel Luis's application to Frost Phoenix immediately. Ordered by the Security Bureau Director and Deputy Director. He has now been blacklisted by all the universities in the province. These words were heard by Luis, Deputy Director of the Security Bureau. Isn't he Lily's father? Then I must have been blacklisted. It's probably that bastard who's playing tricks. Despite Mabel's continuous inquiries about the reasons, but the person on the other end of the phone threw out a sentence. You don't need to worry about it. Anyway, Luis is done for. However, at this moment, Simon suddenly curled up his mouth. Hang up the phone. Mabel looked at Luis somewhat regrettably. You have been blacklisted by the entire River Province University. Even if you have immense potential, it will be buried. I will report to the Ministry of Education again. I will try to help you apply for an admission quota. Luis asked in confusion. Can't I rely on self-study if I don't go to university? Of course not. Universities have the qualification to enter the ghost domain. If you don't have this connection, you won't be able to enter many critical ghost domains. And without theoretical knowledge from the university, you won't even be able to pass the Ghost Master exam. No team will want you then. She stopped talking at this point. Mabel suggested that Luis go apologize to the person he offended. Perhaps there will be a turning point when he enters the university. Unexpectedly, Luis flatly refused. Clearly, she was the one who was wrong first. Why should I apologize? This sentence made Simon, who was at the door, can't help but applaud. It's spirited. I like it. Then he took out his application for admission again. Who says he isn't wanted by any university? We, the White Sheep Gang, want him? Luis' eyes lit up instantly. Does the White Sheep Academy have the qualifications to enter the ghost domain? Simon suddenly straightened his back. Of course. We have all the qualifications for teaching. Our academy is recognized by the province. Luis found this a bit strange. But didn't they say on the phone just now that the Security Bureau notified all universities to blacklist me? Simon stroked his beard proudly and said, We, the White Sheep, uphold integrity and high principles. How could we collude with the Security Bureau? However, Mabel pulled the corner of her mouth. She thought to herself that this old man was really good at bragging. The Security Bureau didn't even consider the White Sheep an academy, so they didn't notify them at all. However, Luis doesn't care about the quality of the school. He just wants to be able to enter the ghost domain. So he praised Simon with a bow. Seeing this, Simon excitedly went to Luis' side. You flatter me, my friend. Let's submit the enrollment application now. Does the exemption from tuition fees you mentioned earlier still apply? Of course. We will not charge any tuition or accommodation fees. Luis signed his name on the enrollment application form. Simon immediately smiled broadly. Congratulations. You have become a student at White Sheep Academy. Later, Luis arrived at Ghost Market to buy some things for school. He saw a mustached boss shouting, Hey, little brother, come take a look. Just caught this starving ghost, selling it cheap. Luis glanced at the cage covered in talismans. The boss said, This starving ghost has 2 skills, Feast to devour specters 2 levels lower, and Curse of Hunger to induce hunger in enemies. After listening to the introduction, Luis stood up and said, This starving ghost's skills are ordinary with no highlights. Besides, my contract upper limit is already full. Seeing Luis contemplating for a while, the boss warmly said, Are you a student? How about I sell this ghost to you cheaply for 500,000? This boss is really shady. The market price for a starving ghost is only around 100,000 yuan. He's clearly trying to scam this inexperienced student, me. Just when Luis asked if it could be cheaper, the boss looked very hesitant. He said, Considering our fate, he would give a 20% discount. How about taking it for 300,000 yuan? However, Luis patted the cage and asked, Is this cage strong? The boss suddenly felt a bit confused and said, This is not a melon. What do you mean by strong? Who knows? Luis suddenly looked strange and said, Not ripened? How can I eat it? When this was said, not only did the boss jump in shock, even the ghosts in the cage lost their composure instantly. Congratulations to host on gaining 20 defense breaking points. Shortly after, Luis continued to ask, How many pounds is your starving ghost? If it's a bit short, I will report you for cheating. If I eat the starving ghost, will I get even hungrier? Do you have a gluttonous ghost? He made the boss collapse on the spot with just a few words. Get lost. I'm not selling anymore. Congratulations to host for obtaining 100 defense breaking points. And Luis didn't forget to bite back before leaving. Is there anyone who does business like you? This boss really has no patience. At the same time, Lily is accompanying her brother Paul to shop at Ghost Market. To celebrate Lily passing the level A ghost domain, her dad, the deputy director, spared no expense and shelled out 8 million to supply her with cultivation materials. At this moment, a loud noise came from afar. I saw Luis bargaining with a vendor. Dude, this guy is the one who's been harassing me in Ghost Domain. Paul glanced at Luis. Isn't this country bumpkin already blacklisted by our dad? Let me help you get this off your chest face to face. And over here, Luis is bargaining enthusiastically. Boss, this ghost orb not only has cracks but also lacks luster. Selling it at 400,000 is a bit too high. How about this? A fixed price of 200,000, what do you think? The boss almost had a heart attack as soon as he heard it. What nonsense. 20 without the 1,000. Young man, are you a bandit? Just then, the ghost orb in Luis's hand was suddenly snatched away by someone. Boss, this ghost orb was sold to me at the original price. At a glance, Luis saw Lily standing behind Paul. How come it's you again, you jerk? I'll show you how capable I am. Later, Paul took out a gold card disdainfully and said, If you don't have money, don't come to the market. Don't embarrass Ghost Master. And Luis, on the other hand, enjoys others' misfortune. Buying a ghost orb with a big crack for 600,000 yuan is indeed trapping suckers like you. Paul stood still in shock. Just now, in order to show off, he didn't look carefully. This loss has made him regret deeply. However, he still stubbornly said, I have money. I love buying ghost orbs with crack, unlike you, a poor guy who can't afford even one. As soon as he said that, Luis quickly waved to the people nearby. Hey, everyone! Quickly bring out your ghost orbs with crack. There are fools willing to pay a high price to buy them back over here. As soon as the words were spoken, several bosses immediately ran over with boxes. Handsome guy, there are a total of 30 cracked ghost orbs in here. How about a fixed price of 8 million? Seeing Paul leading Lily in a rush to leave, Luis is not planning to let them off so easily. So he deliberately shouted, Aren't you the children of the Security Bureau Deputy Director? They just said they were going to buy a cracked ghost orb. How come they didn't buy it after the boss took it out? This is going to ruin the Deputy Director's reputation. Paul and his siblings were so angry that they almost ground their teeth to bits. A group of people who are not afraid of trouble quickly gathered around. How could they be short of money? It must be to prevent the flow of cracked ghost orbs into the market. They funded the recovery themselves. At this time, someone watching the excitement interjected, That must be the Deputy Director's son. He seems to be a talented student in his sophomore year at Frost Phoenix. If he says he wants to recover them, then it must be true. After some praise, Paul, who was in a dilemma, had no choice but to take out his gold card. The boss also had lightning-fast hands. In less than 3 seconds, he successfully deducted 8 million from Paul. At this point, Paul's heart is bleeding. The money was originally meant for them to purchase a ghost orb for cultivation, but he ended up buying a bunch of junk instead. If his dad finds out, he may as well be beaten to death. Congratulations to the host for gaining 200 defense breaking points. While Luis's heart blossomed with joy long ago, not only did he vent his anger, but he also earned 200 points. At this moment, Paul stormed over angrily. Luis, you are seeking death. How can the proud son of the Frost Phoenix endure this anger? Don't you thank me? Aren't you looking to buy a cracked ghost orb? I'm helping you with this. Paul was furious upon hearing this. Luis, I challenge you. And the people around were stunned. A sophomore challenging a high school senior. This is simply not a fair fight. Luis also knew he was at a disadvantage. He could only sarcastically say, You really have no shame. However, Paul took out the ghost orb he had just bought and said, If you win, All these ghost orbs will be yours. Luis was shocked and a little stunned. These ghost orbs, although all cracked, are worth over 2 million. Since he can get them for free, what else is there to hesitate about? However, Luis suddenly became serious. I accept your challenge, he said. Soon, the two of them arrived at the challenge platform in the center of the market, with a crowd of onlookers gathered below. At this moment, a girl with twin ponytails stood on her tiptoes. How could it be him? The girl recognized Luis and waved her fists. If it's him, it seems like he might actually have a chance to win. Meanwhile, Paul on the stage sneered twice. Just so you know, don't blame me if he gets badly beaten up or crippled. Luis is not worried about this at all. If I can't win, I'll just run away. How could I give you a chance to cripple me? Besides, it's not embarrassing to lose to a sophomore student. Thinking of this, Luis took the lead in summoning the chainsaw ghost. Accompanied by a burst of ghost energy, the 2-meter-tall chainsaw ghost rushed forward immediately. This caught Paul by surprise. This turned out to be an inferior malevolent spirit. However, he immediately placed his hand on his left arm. Let you witness the power of my Specter. He summoned 3 Specters at the same time. Ghost energy surged on the stage for a moment. Even the temperature dropped by a few degrees. Seeing this, Luis furrowed his brows. This Paul is indeed very strong. People watching below shook their heads one after another. Giant Wraith acts as the tank. Drowned Ghost acts as the controller. This lineup is perfect in both offense and defense. It seems that high school students are completely out of the game. However, Twin-Tailed Girl disagrees with that. The skill CD of Electrocuted Ghost and Drowned Ghost is too long. If high school students seize the opportunity to ambush, they can also win. You are so biased towards him, little girl. Is he your boyfriend? The middle-aged Ghost Master joked aside. Definitely not. What nonsense are you talking about? The girl pouted and explained. I just don't want Frost Phoenix's people to win. Just then, Paul controlled Drowned Ghost to make a move. He came up with a killer move right away. Asphyxia. A large number of water bubbles quickly rushed towards Luis from all sides. Good control. Luis held his breath and steadied his mind. Paul on the opposite side said triumphantly, the control time for this move is a full 2 minutes. I'm afraid you won't survive until then. Luis made a pistol gesture after listening. Then I'll take care of you within 2 minutes. As he thought of it, the chainsaw ghost immediately rushed towards Paul. Unexpectedly, it was blocked by the giant wraith. He took a deep breath and his body quickly expanded. He directly blocked the chainsaw ghost's attack like a mountain. Paul looked at the almost suffocated Luis and mocked. Is this all the strength you got? You are useless even with a chance. The next second, the electrocuted ghost suddenly erupted with countless electrical flows. And Luis's right eye suddenly contracted, continuously analyzing the route and direction of the electrical flow. Accompanied by his various dodges, several times the electrical flow barely missed him and fell beside him. However, the chainsaw ghost in the distance is different, because he is not yet proficient in controlling it. The chainsaw ghost was beaten by the electrical flow until his skin cracked and flesh tore, with only 1/3 of his health remaining. However, because of this, the chainsaw ghost's passive bloodthirsty was triggered. He will gain 2 points of damage for every point of damage he receives. This made the usually steady giant wraith panic. Soon, his body was cut in half by the chainsaw ghost. Seeing this, Paul was a bit dumbfounded. He had to control the electrocuted ghost to deal with Luis first. But under the powerful analytical ability of Blood Eye, Luis actually easily dodged all attacks. This scene instantly caused the audience below to boil with excitement. Such excellent positioning. Paul was caught off guard. He saw Luis charging towards him. Paul was suddenly shocked and pale. Electrocuted Ghost used all electrical flow to attack Luis. The electrical flow quickly spread over. But Luis smiled triumphantly. As he continued to lightly hop, he always managed to shift his position at the moment when electrical flow fell down. This scene made Twin-tailed Girl excited, and she jumped up. Her two pigtails mischievously hit the face of the man behind her. Steven moved aside, looking disgusted, but his eyes were fixed firmly on Luis on the field. He actually held his own against the genius of Frost Phoenix in the duel. However, in the face of talent, Luis still fell short in the end. Here, Steven murmured softly, Paul has already mastered the contracted ghost combo skill. Luis won't be able to be arrogant for much longer. The twin-tailed girl standing nearby overheard the conversation. Are you so sure that Luis will lose? How about we make a bet then? How about a blue corpse ghost orb as the wager? Steven glanced at the girl without replying. Unexpectedly, the girl sarcastically remarked, You dress like someone important. Why are you so timid? Steven laughed out of anger after hearing this. All right, young lady, he said. Let's make a bet. If I win, you have to apologize to me. If I lose, I'll give you a blue corpse ghost orb. The girl happily agreed. Apologizing wouldn't cost her anything. But a blue corpse ghost orb could be worth 100,000 yuan. And Steven suddenly furrowed his brows. This little girl, why does she look so much like director's daughter Gia? At this moment, someone suddenly shouted, Look! The high school student is about to strike back. I saw Luis dodging all electrical flow attacks. He successfully rushed to the front of Paul. I saw Luis rapidly approaching. Paul controlled the drowned ghost to unleash the ultimate ghost technique waterweed entanglement. The next second, the drowned ghost's body started oozing large amounts of mucus. At the same time, countless waterweed emerged from the mucus, overwhelming and charging straight towards Luis. If he is entangled by this group of waterweed, he will have no more means to fight back. At this point, Luis stopped dodging. Instead, he continued to rush towards Paul. Just as Paul thought he had succeeded, Paul suddenly saw a pair of blood-red eyes. Accompanied by his pupils suddenly contracting, he only felt a wave of vertigo hitting him. Unable to think carefully, Paul immediately exerted all his strength to control the waterweed entwining around Luis. Soon, Luis was wrapped up and unable to move. Paul exhaled deeply and said, I thought you were much stronger. Turns out, not really. Take a closer look. Who was the one who got hit in the end? Just as Luis spoke, Paul suddenly shouted in panic. How is this possible? Why can't I move my body? However, when he raised his head, he saw Luis standing in front of him just fine. Meanwhile, he was firmly trapped by the waterweed. At this point, Paul thought of those blood-red eyes. It was the blood-eyed ghost's second skill, backlash, using illusion to confuse my sense of direction, which ended up trapping me. Luis pursed his lips after hearing that. It seems you're not too dumb after all. Witnessing this scene, the crowd below erupted into a tremendous cheer. He actually got beaten by a high school student. Is this the extent of Frost Phoenix's genius? However, Steven's expression was especially grim. The conditions for releasing backlash from the blood-eyed ghost are very stringent. It must be activated at the moment of being targeted and in eye contact with the caster. But he managed to master it without any training, which is absolutely a once-in-a-century genius. The twin-tailed girl next to me excitedly made a victory sign. See, I told you the people from Frost Phoenix Academy couldn't beat him. Lily was so angry that her veins were popping out. Who said my brother would lose? The match is not over yet. She shouted at the stage. Brother, use your combo skill quickly. Paul smiled bitterly. He originally intended to save it for the inter-school championship. He didn't expect to be forced to use it early by a high school student. After giving Luis a fierce glance, Paul took a deep breath instantly, accompanied by a loud shout from him. The body of the giant wraith instantly expanded to its limit. Even its skin became transparent. With a bang, the giant wraith's belly burst open directly. A large amount of corpse water gushed out like a flood. Your ultimate skill isn't a biochemical attack, is it? Luis almost vomited his dinner because of the smell. The stage was quickly flooded with corpse water. Something's not right. Where did the drowned ghost go? Just as Luis noticed something unusual, a ghost hand suddenly reached out from the water and grabbed towards his face. Luis was firmly caught by the drowned ghost. Before he could react, Luis was dragged underwater. After choking on a few mouthfuls of water, the drowned ghost still clung tightly to his back. Luis secretly exclaimed, "This is not good!" However, the drowned ghost emitted a sinister laugh. "Drown," he said. "This damn drowned ghost didn't just drown himself, but now he wants the living to suffer with him." Just then, a distant electrocuted ghost shouted loudly. Suddenly, the sky quickly condensed to dazzling lightning. Luis instantly understood the essence of Paul's combo skill. He first uses the explosion of the giant wraith to create a water area. At the same time, he cooperates with the drowned ghost to control himself. This way, the thunder of the electrocuted ghost can accurately smash himself to death. This set of combo moves is intricately intertwined and can be considered exquisite. At the same time, Luis's mind is operating rapidly. If he uses blood domain illusion on the drowned ghost, he can naturally escape the control under the water. But he still can't avoid the thunder above his head. At this point in his thoughts, Luis tapped the pattern on his arm. "Then I'll gamble with my life. Let's steal it directly." Just as Paul was wondering where the ghost energy came from, only to see the female ghost instantly appear in front of Luis. The guqin in her hand also produced a melodious sound. Along with Luis giving an order, the female ghost swiftly plucked the guqin. Without waiting for Paul to react, he was instantly frozen in place by the deathly chant. He is really a lunatic. He not only failed to control the ghosts, but also couldn't save himself. He instead let the ghosts attack me directly. He is trying to exchange his life for mine. Just when Paul was confused, the chainsaw ghost also rushed towards his true form without hesitation. Due to being entangled by waterweed and unable to move, Paul could only shout, "Giant Wraith, protect me!" However, due to the explosion just now, Giant Wraith has now shrunk to just over 2 meters tall. And Chainsaw Ghost, after sawing for a while, he directly kicked Giant Wraith aside. Seeing that Paul couldn't move, the Chainsaw Ghost lifted up the chainsaw and sprinted over. He kept saying, "This human flesh smells delicious." Paul suddenly panicked. "I have a bright future ahead. If I die in the hands of this country bumpkin, it would be a big loss." So he immediately ordered Electrocuted Ghost to change the target of the attack. The next second, the thunder that was about to strike Luis, it instantly changed direction and pounced towards Chainsaw Ghost. With just a muffled sound, the thigh-thick thunder fell on the back of Chainsaw Ghost. The powerful destructive force even distorted the air. Accompanied by a scream, Chainsaw Ghost's back was blasted apart. Even the exposed bones were charred black by the electricity. At this point, Chainsaw Ghost's health bar is already empty. If he were to receive any more attacks, Ghost's body would instantly disintegrate into nothingness. Upon seeing this, Paul sneered. "Luis, oh Luis, you actually still want to trade lives with me? Have you even considered your own strength and abilities?" The calm Luis, who was entangled by the drowned ghost, was unusually composed. He knew that the Chainsaw Ghost infused with passive bloodthirsty had increased its damage tenfold. And now is the perfect moment for him to counterattack. After Luis gave the order, Chainsaw Ghost released 2 skills Chainsaw Rampage, instantly entering a frenzied state. The chainsaw in his hand was swung vigorously, the rotation speed getting faster and faster. Soon, he was spinning like a whirlwind on stage, moving aimlessly. There were even a few times when the chainsaw grazed Paul's scalp. This scared him so much that he almost wet his pants. He quickly crawled away using both hands and feet. Then another chainsaw swung at Paul from behind. Reacting on instinct, he quickly manipulated the electrocuted ghost to protect himself. Just then, an electrical flow flashed by. The electrocuted ghost instantly blocked in front of Paul. However, as a mage, he couldn't withstand this chainsaw attack at all. With a sharp sound, The electrocuted ghost was instantly chopped in half at the waist. The chainsaw also changed direction due to this block, passing closely by Paul's head. Unfortunately, he only cut off one of his ears. The damn Louis Paul covered his ear, roaring as he retreated backwards. Now electrocuted ghost and giant wraith are both low on health. If drowned ghost doesn't return to defend soon, I'll end up dying in the hands of chainsaw ghost. At this point, Paul had no choice but to withdraw drowned ghost. Louis, who escaped from the trap, stood up. He finally got out. The crowd below erupted again at the sight. It was so exciting. I thought the high school student would lose. Stephen also showed a satisfied expression. This courage and agility are indeed impressive. Paul is no match for him. At this moment, Louis took a step forward. It's my turn to make a move next, right? As Louis spoke, he twisted his neck and cracked his fingers. He looked like he was going to kill Paul. When Paul saw this posture, he suddenly trembled as if struck by lightning. What are you trying to do? I am the son of the Security Bureau Deputy Director. At that moment, Busted Ghost quickly plucked the strings. Accompanied by the eerie music, the deathly chant instantly enveloped both Paul and his contracted ghost. Paul, whose mind was disturbed, stared at the scene with bloodshot eyes. I can't just lose like this, he said. As he spoke, he tried to control his contracted ghost to fight back. Suddenly, there were two loud explosions. The giant wraith and electrocuted ghost burst open at the same time. For a moment, the stage was filled with floating ashes, all remnants of the shattered ghost bodies. This is the effect of the skill, the deathly chant, of Busted Ghost. It can deliver a fatal blow when the enemy's health is below 5%. At this moment, Paul let out a heart-wrenching roar. He has never experienced such devastating loss before. These two ghosts were raised with great effort by me. I poured countless efforts into nurturing them. And now, they're just gone like that. Paul, affected by the backlash caused by the death of the contracted ghost and double impact from the mental breakdown, spat out blood and fainted on the ground. Congratulations to host for gaining 200 defense breaking points. At the sound of the referee's whistle, the match ended. Louis looked at the unconscious Paul and smirked slightly. You're the one who's done for. It's got nothing to do with me. If you want to blame someone, blame your sister. It's because of her that you ended up in this situation, having you help out. Louis then waved to the crowd below the stage. He then walked straight towards Paul's sister Lily amidst the warm applause. Your brother lost to me. Bring the ghost orb now, he said. Lily angrily took out a box. Louis, you wait for me. Let's see how long you can be arrogant. Louis doesn't get angry after listening. Thinking about who cares about you. I originally came to purchase the ghost orb. Now I haven't spent a penny. I can't wait to go back and absorb the ghost orb worth 2 million. At this moment, Stephen glanced at Paul on the stage and felt embarrassed. The genius fostered by Frost Phoenix actually couldn't even beat a high school student. I really don't know what Gabriel and Troy were thinking. Such promising talents are wasted once they join the blacklist. They are simply a group of fools. At this moment, a twin-tailed girl tilted her head and looked at Stephen. You should honor the bet now. Stephen took out a blue corpse ghost orb and tossed it to the girl. You won. Take it. Twin-tailed girl excitedly kissed the ghost orb. She made a quick 100,000. Just as she passed by Lily and her group. But she suddenly heard the other person say, We must kill him. Remember to make it clean. Twin-tailed girl's heart suddenly tightened. Not good. They want revenge. This group of people have realized that Louis's spirit energy is now depleted. Plus, the contracted ghost is seriously injured. That guy is definitely no match for them. Watching the backs of the yellow-haired men as they leave, the girl touched the blue corpse ghost orb in her pocket and made up her mind. She turned around and followed the group. At this time, Louis was preparing to leave the market with the contracted ghosts. To reward these guys, Louis specifically bought 10 pounds of pork for the chainsaw ghost. He really went all out today. He must give them a good reward. Luis went in again and bought the biggest underwear. Although Busted Ghost was a little embarrassed, she still politely cursed and told him to get lost. Seeing Chainsaw Ghost and Busted Ghost both getting rewards, Blood-Eyed Ghost asked unwillingly, "What about mine?" Luis pointed at the bag with sincerity, saying, "How could I forget you? I bought you 10 bottles of the best eye drops cooling oil." Blood-Eyed Ghost became angry after hearing that. What does cooling oil mean? Congratulations to the host for earning 40 defense breaking points. And Luis pretended to look very strange. Isn't cooling oil supposed to be eye drops? As soon as he said this, the Blood-Eyed Ghost's loyalty immediately dropped by 5%. Upon seeing this, Luis immediately raised his hand in surrender. "I was just kidding, bro, look at the bag, there are no cooling oil. I bought several $100s per bottle eye drops." This is about right. After Blood-Eyed Ghost confirmed that Luis had not lied to him, he reluctantly changed loyalty back at this point. Shortly after, Luis hummed a tune as he walked towards home. When he turned into an alley, Blood-Eyed Ghost suddenly spoke. "There is something dirty following you." "You're awesome. You even know what's going on behind your back." Blood-Eyed Ghost pursed his lips. "I've lived for over 200 years. I'm still very sensitive to the smell of danger." After boasting, Blood-Eyed Ghost became worried. "Your spirit energy is now depleted, and Chainsaw Ghost is still in a state of blood silk. This is not good." Luis frowned and responded. Just then, a shadow quickly attacked from behind. Seeing this, Blood-Eyed Ghost immediately shouted, "Be careful! It's the mucus of Decay Ghost!" Luis reacted instantly after hearing that. He rolled forward directly to dodge. Then he looked back. The ground was corroded by a puddle of purple liquid emitting white smoke and a strong smell. Just as Luis was feeling relieved that he narrowly escaped, only to see a yellow-haired man with a cigarette in his mouth approaching. Not bad skills. No wonder Paul fell into your hands. And the liquid just now. It was sprayed by the ghost with sores all over his body next to him. No need to waste words with him. Just kill him and avenge Paul. At this time, another yellow-haired man wearing sunglasses appeared with a specter resembling a bat on his back. It turns out to be a vampire. Now we can't escape. Luis's voice trembled slightly. However, he gestured for everyone to step back one by one. But he had barely taken 2 steps back when suddenly, there was a loud thud behind him, only to see a strong man carrying a coffin blocking the way. Look at his posture. There must be a powerful ghost inside the coffin. Luis felt a little flustered being caught in a pincer attack. He had to ask in a low voice whether the Blood-Eyed Ghost could be defeated. "I'm currently just at the Malevolent Spirit level with only 2 skills. If I can level up to Malefic Spirit and activate the ultimate skill, I won't be afraid of them anymore." With that, the Blood-Eyed Ghost sighed. The Busted Ghost beside him also chimed in agreement. However, Chainsaw Ghost has gone crazy. "I have 10 drops of blood left. I can still fight." At this moment, Luis is faced with wolves in front and tigers behind. Above his head, there is a flying vampire and his own spirit energy has already depleted. Contemplating this, Luis twitched the corners of his mouth. It seems like he can only surrender now. "Yes, it's you, Luis. You are just a trashy dog. How dare you provoke the Frost Phoenix?" The yellow-haired man, with a cigarette in his mouth, and the Decay Ghost slowly approach. Seeing no hope of escape, Luis forced a bitter smile. "Are you 3 brothers here to rob me? He is now at the end of the road. He can only delay time to look for loopholes. Maybe there is still a chance." The yellow-haired man, with half a cigarette left, said to Luis without wasting words, "We are not here for money." With these words, Luis suddenly became awkward. "But if you are here to rob, you have quite a few people." His appearance instantly disgusted several people. One of them even vomited out the breakfast he had 2 days ago. However, in the spirit of not wasting, he swallowed it back while it was still warm. Congratulations to the host for earning 30 defense breaking points. We are here to take your life. You have offended someone you shouldn't have. Now you must die. The yellow-haired man who just smoked became fierce. Just when Luis wanted to argue cunningly, the decay ghost behind him suddenly pounced like a mad dog, giving Luis no chance to react at all. Luis gritted his teeth. It was too late to dodge at this moment. He had to prepare to summon the chainsaw ghost to help block the attack. Just then, a dark shadow flashed across the alley, followed by 3 tear gas grenades dropped down. Accompanied by the sound of explosions, thick smoke billowed in the narrow alley. What's going on? Where is that kid? For a moment, several yellow-haired men were choked with tears and snot. They all rushed towards the mouth of the alley. Similarly, Luis couldn't stand it either. When he put the underwear prepared for Bust-a-Ghost over his face, a rope suddenly fell in front of him. At the same time, he heard urgent voices from above. Out of instinct, Luis quickly climbed up the rope. Although he didn't know who the other party was, escaping was the priority now. Soon, Luis was pulled out of the tear gas range. When he took off the underwear and took a deep breath of air. As soon as he looked up, Luis asked in confusion, "Why is it you?" Just saw twin-tailed girl excitedly reaching out her hand. "Quit the chatter. Come up quickly." She was the one who had just robbed Luis with Clown Girl yesterday. Luis responded with a sound and then grabbed the girl's hand, climbing onto Nightmare Ghost. The yellow-haired man below quickly shouted when he saw the situation. "They are in the sky. Hurry and chase. Don't let this kid get away." Upon hearing this, the yellow-haired man wearing sunglasses swiftly lay on the back of the vampire. He flew rapidly towards Luis. "Compared to my vampire, you have no chance of winning in terms of speed." Luis looked a bit panicked as the vampire caught up to him. He couldn't shake off its speed. "Maybe I'll summon a ghost to confront it head-on." The girl, unexpectedly, playfully stuck out her tongue. "Just sit down and behave yourself." She then reached into the pocket in front of her chest after speaking. She then took out a bottle of chili spray and sprayed wildly behind her with a backhand motion. Just as the yellow-haired man was wondering what was causing such a nice smell. The next second, he burst into a painful scream. The vampire's eyes turned instantaneously red due to the spiciness. He couldn't even recognize the direction. After flapping its wings a few times, it fell rapidly as if it were crashing like an airplane. With a loud bang, 2 large holes were smashed into the roof of a building.